Local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
I would like to comment on them. And so how does that get determined? What's going to be on the consent calendar?
So if you have an item that you would like to pull for a particular issue to talk about, we can do that on an item by item basis.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Is there any particular item he's talking about, or
apparently not?
Just curious. Anything on the current consent? Yes.
Yes.
I'll give you a card in a second. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. My concern would be, my name is Bijan Parhizgar. My concern is item 248/2022. As uneducated I am about this item, but it seems to me there is some federal acts of 1997 that prohibited providing cash assistance to immigrants, and it seems like we are trying to pick that up at the state level.
Through the chair, do we want to pull that item off? And
do you have some issues that you want to talk about on that item?
Not very particularly, because honestly, I haven't done my homework. When I saw this, it caught my attention and I started digging. But
well, the thing
didn't get too far. But
so,
I do like to bring that up at another time if possible.
So you can bring that to a comment at a later date if you'd like.
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
That'd be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a first and a second.
Through the chair, I think there's a hand raised on Zoom now.
I'm sorry.
Through the chair, would it be too much to actually pull 248 and off the consent?
I don't think the public is ready to discuss that. Okay. And if they're not prepared, then there would be little discussion.
You have the right to request, ma'am.
I think we're still working on the Zoom at the moment.
Okay.
She has been unmuted.
Hello. Good morning, Board of Supervisors.
Good morning.
My name is Reverend Deborah Lee. Yeah, Reverend Deborah Lee, and I'm the director of the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. We're a statewide organization that believes and works to protect the dignity and full inclusion of all people in the state, including immigrants. I'm a co-author of a faith letter that was signed by several hundred people and submitted on March 28th. It was the correspondence section, but we're not able to comment at that time.
Deborah,
so we're calling in today. Yes?
Deborah, listen. Are you calling about an agenda item that's listed under the consent list?
I'm calling in to make a public comment.
We're not in the public comment yet.
Okay. I'll raise my hand again a little bit later. I just don't want to be missed again this time.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Donna,
Okay. I did want to ask if you could pull item 248. So that
248?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very
So
much.
we'll pull 248 from the agenda. I have a first and a second.
Could I seek clarification?
Yes.
Pull it off of the consent agenda.
That's
It'll
correct.
be under county departments.
That's correct.
We'll comment on we'll have a chance to comment on it later today.
We will do it immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other than item 248, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So item 248, Health and Human Services, approve amendment number 1 to the Memorandum of Understanding with the Sacramento County Department of Human Assistance for the Cash Assistance Program for immigrant at CAP for the term of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2025. From the county,
I'm looking at our HHS director to see if she wants to provide some additional clarification on the item presented
Great.
to the board.
So the county is required to administer the CAPI program. It's a state and federal program that there's eligibility requirements for immigrants, certain populations that are disabled that are eligible to these benefits. There's a very small number of cases. So you'll see in the memo, there are 6 cases currently in the county. So we don't operate and determine the eligibility ourselves. We're part of a consortium. Because this is a non-routine program, it's consolidated in Sacramento County and they process all the applications on behalf of the consortium. So the item before you today is to request approval for the contract for Sacramento County to process the applications and administer the program for these mandated services.
May I through the chair?
Just the chair.
Chair, you have a comment?
There's a key word in the background there that puts a word called legal in front of immigrants.
Yeah.
And so this is not for the overflow from the border.
That's correct.
Okay, so this is legal immigrants. Okay.
And just
Key description.
through the chair, if I may, the item before the board today is the amendment to the existing MOU. The only thing being amended is the address, if I'm reading the resolution correctly.
That's correct. They want the applications. They have a new facility and they want the applications routed to the address.
All right.
The
To
new
the chair,
address.
any future items for this MOU, they should put in the subject matter for legal immigrants. That's a big deal. That would change most people's attitude on it.
Okay, thank you.
So from this request, the only thing we're talking about is changing the address. Is that correct?
That's correct. In an
Okay.
existing MOU to be part of the consortium for Sacramento to process the applications and cases for us.
Very good. Donna, you have a comment? Very good. So, do I hear?
I had a question.
Yes.
So if I understand it right, the federal changed their requirement. The state said, no, we're going to do this other thing. And so that's why the state is mandating we do it. And we're just handing it back to the state for them to then carry out the thing they mandated us to do that the federal isn't.
No, it's a federal program that the state is required to process. Thus, it trickles down that the county is mandated to operate the program.
Okay.
So the guidance is federal. It's a state administered program that we're required to operate. And we're just part of the consortium to process the applications, but the actual program itself is a federal program.
Okay, so there is no conflict between the federal and the state on this program.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Back to the board. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any other comments from the public? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment.
Through the chair, I have one card and excuse me. 3 hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, if you would read through the directions, please.
Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. If you are participating via Zoom and wish to comment, please use the raise hand function or *9 if participating on a phone. Please note, no board action can be taken on comments made under this heading. And through the chair, I have 1 card and I believe 5 hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so who is the in the audience? We have 1 card.
Excuse me, Karen Liggett.
Karen Liggett, Yuba County resident for now, but I was at the powwow this weekend, both days, and they made it clear that in the Indian culture, they bring to each tribe together as one, as a community, to go ahead and do the betterment for the Indian culture to continue with the traditions that they do. And so I was thinking about our community. What we're doing is dividing each other and letting the negative bring in all the negative instead of bringing positive into our community. I haven't seen much positive came to Yuba County in a long time. I've seen just negative, like the fellowship, like the pot growers. It's been negative after negative after negative. No positive businesses have been coming in this area. And the kids are suffering. Our children are not getting what they deserve. They're not getting good role models. If we continue letting negative people like the fellowship group and them fighting over getting their water and fighting over all kinds of stuff, the kids are not going to learn from that. We have to go back to tradition of American tradition to go ahead and be able to do the best for our community. And if you keep letting negatives come in, we're going to destroy ourselves. And that's what I brought out of the powwow this weekend. If you keep letting negatives bring in the positive, and the peace will not be there. So please reconsider when you guys think on this board what you're doing to the community as a whole, because we all are supposed to be as one. No negatives are supposed to be there if we're going to have peace.
Thank you.
Next on Zoom, we have Deborah Lee.
Hello. Good morning again, Board of Supervisors. I apologize for jumping in at the wrong time a little bit earlier. Again, as I mentioned, my name is Reverend Deborah Lee, and I'm the director of the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. We're an organization made up of faith communities from all different religions and faith traditions and different cultural and ethnic backgrounds. But despite our different beliefs, and we are committed around the value that every person has dignity, and it's our duty to show compassion and fair treatment to everyone. And I just following the comments of the person before, that we all want thriving and healthy communities, as you do in your responsibilities for this community. We sent in a faith letter on March 28th that was signed by over 200 faith leaders, very concerned about, speaking of negative, speaking of the conditions and the situation of ICE, the contract of the Yuba County Jail with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to house immigrants. Immigrants who are being held there do not need to be held in detention while their case is being under review. We do believe that their case can continue to be under review while they are with their families, while they're able to continue to work, to be parents to their children, and support their families. Yuba County Jail has a 40-year history of documented civil rights abuses and poor conditions. It is notorious for inadequate medical care and inappropriate use of solitary confinement towards people with medical and mental conditions. And it deprives immigrants of their freedom and instead subjects them to medical neglect and physical and psychological abuse. We strongly urge that the Board of Supervisors pushes to end this contract in line with what Sacramento County has done, Contra Costa County, and Orange County as well have ended their federal contracts with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And I'll just end with a very important piece of scripture that means a lot to me, and it's shared by Christians and Jews and Muslims across the globe. It's Leviticus 19:33 through 34. When a stranger, and actually the Hebrew word is ger, it means the resident alien. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not wrong them. For the stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens, and you shall love them as yourself, for you also were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on Zoom is the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity.
Hi, good morning, Yuba Board of Supervisors. My name is Gayla King. I also work with the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. I'm also a member of the California, Nevada United Methodist Church of California. The interim Bishop Sally Dick of our denomination was also a co-author on the letter that Reverend Deborah Lee has cited. So I'm calling to lift up the voice of my conference that stands in deep solidarity with the call to end this contract with ICE. We know that our immigrant community members can be home with their community while they are going through their immigration proceedings. Here in the Bay Area, we have had the opportunity to work with folks who spent years being held by ICE at Yuba County Jail, who we've been able to provide the support that they need, including legal support, housing, mental health services, all the community support they need to both complete their immigration proceedings in community, to be with family, and to be contributing members of our community. We understand that this contract between Yuba County and ICE isn't expected to end until 2099, but we know that there is a strong political will to end this contract. 25 members of Congress support terminating this contract, including Representative John Garamendi, where the Yuba County Jail is located. So I'm just here to urge you to listen to the faith community, to end this contract, to bring this to a future Yuba Board of Supervisors agenda so we could discuss it in more depth, and to meet with us, to meet with members of the faith community so we can discuss this more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Allison Tanner.
Hello, and thank you for taking my call. I was here 2 weeks ago and waited 3 hours and was told multiple times you would take my response, but it never happened. So thank you for listening to the community at this time. My name is, as I said, Reverend Allison Tanner. I am a pastor in Oakland and a faith leader with Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. I was a co-author of the faith letter that they've been talking about. And I want to name that my congregation received into our sanctuary a young man who was detained at Yuba. He had been 4 years languishing in detention while he was waiting his asylum hearing, and he was released during COVID because Yuba could not provide safety and protection for him as someone who was medically vulnerable. He came to our community, and I was one of 4 different congregations who walked with him for the next year and a half while he continued waiting for his hearing to take place. And these congregations provide housing for him, provided jobs for him, provided the resources that he needed to heal from his time in detention. He experienced a great deal of trauma in detention. And is still recovering from that. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Yuba County Jail receives $8.66 million per year from ICE, even when this past year, between the end of October and the end of December, there was actually no one who was detained there. They still receive this money currently when only 3 people are detained. By contract, Yuba Jail is paid $24,000 a day for a minimum of 150 empty beds. And this money could and should be poured into the community that currently exists that is accompanying those who are being released from detention and who should be released from detention. I am outraged that my tax dollars are going toward further detaining of people when I'm pouring my personal energy and resources into providing healing from what happens with these tax dollars. I want to name that California lawyers, advocates, faith communities, and families have built a robust network of services modeled on safe alternatives to incarcerating immigrants during their months and long years of immigration proceedings, and we know that these alternatives work. Please ask that in the future, an agenda item addressing this letter signed by over 200 Californians can be on the agenda. Thank you for hearing my comments.
Thank you.
Next, we have Edwin Carmona Cruz.
Hi, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Board Chair and Board of Supervisors of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors. My name is Edwin. I am calling on behalf of the Yuba Liberation Coalition. Similarly to Reverend Allison, to Reverend Deb, to Gayla King, our coalition sent a letter now 2 months ago on March 25th to meet with the Board of Supervisors individually. It's been 2 months. We have yet to receive any response from the Board of Supervisors regarding the Yuba ICE contract, which has been already detailed before me. But again, we would love to meet with all of you. Again, as Reverend Allison mentioned, this is $8.6 million that is going to a jail that has been under federal consent decree since 1979. This is someone, I think her name was Karen, who spoke earlier. The $8.6 million that's going to the wrong place. This is money that should be going to the community, to positive role models, instead of really awful conditions, federal consent decree, again, for over 40 years, several human rights abuses, including Carlos Sauceda, who said that Yuba County Jail is probably the worst place in the state of California to be detained at. I don't know if that should be something that folks should be proud of. But again, this is 2 months since we've sent this letter. We've been trying to meet the Board of Supervisors, and we have not received any responses. So we do want to make sure that we are able to speak with you, to able to share similar values and share experiences from those impacted, and hope that Yuba County Jail, with the help of the federal government and the state, that we can have a healthy transition into more positive ways to support communities at Yuba County. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next we have Sarah.
Good morning. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, board. My name is Sarah Freed. I am also here as a faith leader and a representative of the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. And I'm also one of the 236 signatories on the faith letter submitted on March 28th that has already been referenced by the speakers ahead of me. I'd also like to lift up a piece of sacred scripture, as many of our scriptures speak directly to the importance of caring for immigrants. For example, Matthew 25:35 within Christian scripture reads that, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in." Our current system of inhumane detention is antithetical to the call to love our immigrant neighbors. In November 2021, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that from 2010 to 2021, ICE's detention office conducted at least 8 inspections at the Yuba County Jail and found that there were 171 violations. In an op-ed written by Carlos Saceda, he recounts cells that he was confined in with no drinking water, no working toilets, and no lights. Immigrants detained in the Yuba County Jail are deprived of their freedom and instead are subjected to medical neglect and physical and psychological abuse. Given these abysmal conditions that are experienced by those in the Yuba County Jail, one might think that they are severely underfunded, but as we've already heard, the Yuba County Jail receives $8.66 million a year from ICE. Yuba does not have a complete and public accounting record of how the ICE funds are utilized, and these are hard-earned taxpayer dollars that should be going towards policies that uplift and not cage people. But Yuba County doesn't have to be this way. We have the power to treat immigrants with the dignity and care that they deserve. As leaders and decision makers in Yuba County, I urge you to do your part to create a more just community for all. Please add this issue to a future agenda, agree to meet with the faith leaders of this community, and ultimately end Yuba County's contract with ICE. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have one more card from Karen Liggett.
Oh, I think we're right at it. Karen,
Liggett.
are you talking on the same issue?
Yes. The ICE.
So once you've talked during the 3 minutes, you've used your 3 minutes. So you can bring that back to the next meeting if you'd like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do that.
Mm-hmm.
There are no more cards and no more commenters on Zoom.
Great, thank you. Moving on to county departments. Item number 262, 2022. County administrator receive information on applicants to the Measure K Citizens Oversight Committee.
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, Yuba County Administrator. So this item was previously before the board back in March. We had 9 applicants at that time that were interviewed, 4 were recommended to the board to be appointed to this newly formed committee. And then there was also a recommendation to seek additional applicants, specifically from our hills of Yuba County. We didn't have anybody kind of representing that aspect of our county. So we received 3. So we solicited additional applications. We received 3 applicants from the hill region, the mountainous region of the county. Those 3 applicants were interviewed by myself, our treasurer tax collector, Dan Mearswa, and our auditor controller, Richard Eberly. And our unanimous consensus was that, and what we're recommending to the board today is that the board appoint Fred Morazinski to that 5th spot on the committee for the same term as the other 4 that were appointed back in March. Now, all 3 were excellent applicants. And we would also recommend, and I've reached out to the other 2 applicants that we're not recommending, that we'd like to keep your name on the list, because if there's a vacancy, I think they could add value to the committee in the future.
So I think you're absolutely correct. Couldn't pick 3 better individuals to look at. Questions from the board? Input from the public? Back to the board.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Yeah, he asked for public comment. Yes. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Item number 217, Human Resource, approve amendment to the Master Labor Agreement between the County of Yuba and Yuba County Employees Association.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Jill Abel with the...
Are we going to call the 3 items together so we can do one presentation? I thought that...
Sure, that would be great. Okay.
If you can make that happen, I love it.
I think through the chair, I think we can call items 2 I'm sorry, was I talking over? I'm sorry. Items number 217, 2022, 218, 2022, and 231, 2022, because the presentation will be almost identical for all three, and then the board can make separate motions for each item. It might expedite things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My name is Jill Abel with the Human Resources Department. As your board is aware, in September of 2021, we approved a contract with our Deputy District Attorneys Association and our Yuba County Employees Association. That contract did not include a cost of living adjustment in the first year of the contract. Instead, it had two cost of living adjustments within the term. The first was in the second year of the contract between 1.5 and 2.5% based on the consumer price index. And it also had a second cost of living adjustment in the third year of 1.5 to 2.5% based on that same index. Today, we are asking, or I am asking your board to approve an amendment to that agreement. We would like to modify the cost of living adjustment from what would have been 2.5 based on that index to 5% effective July 1. This is based on recent economic indicators that cost of living is definitely increasing beyond what was anticipated when we were negotiating this agreement. And we would like to do that effective July 1. The second adjustment would remain the same in the third year of the contract for between 1.5 to 2.5% based on CPI. So I'm asking those amendments be put in place for July 1 and that same adjustment apply to our unrepresented and management groups that follow those contracts.
So are you making that presentation for all three items that you would like to list out here at the moment?
So I am asking your board to approve an amendment to the YCA Master Labor Agreement to modify the COLA effective July 1 from 1.5 to 2.5% to a 5% cost of living adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking the same for the Deputy District Attorney's Agreement and the same for management and unrepresented that follow those contracts. So it's actually non-represented, miscellaneous management, elected group, and confidential group.
Okay, and that covers item 217, 218, and 231.
So moved. I have a, through the board.
Yes.
Just for a clarification, mainly for the public, how long and protracted conversations or negotiations went on before we got to this point?
Are you referring to last year or now?
Well, what it took to get to where we are now.
It took quite a bit to get to where we are now. The county has been, obviously economic indicators have been changing recently quite significantly for cost of living. And we have had really significant issues with recruitment and retention. And the fact that we didn't offer a COLA last year exacerbates that. So we had a lot of conversations with labor to, try to determine what the best path forward would be.
Yeah, it's quite a process.
Any additional questions, comments from the board? Comments from the public?
Donna Wahlberg would like to comment on 217, 218, and 231.
Very good.
Comment, and I forgot to address this during the consent calendar. I believe you all received an email from me about the lesser magistrates, the power of lesser magistrates, which you are. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. But, all of these grants and monies come into the counties and the city. I mean, they've been coming in like crazy. And, our wealth has grown in both Sutter and Yuba counties. And that part of it's good, but there's a lot of strings that are often attached that the counties, enforce or comply or implement policies that go along with state agendas, such as, COVID policies and things like that. And this is just this raise, a 5% raise. I mean, you guys were considering a 2.5% raise, and then you ended up doing a 5% raise. is a little bit concerning to me, given the fact that there's so many people struggling that have lost their businesses because of the COVID thing. And yet the counties are, getting wealthier, and people that work for the government are, I think going unscathed. In fact, they're doing better financially. And I understand that with the inflation, I understand the reason for the 5% raise, because the inflation has gotten terrible. I do understand that, but I just feel like, maybe it's just not a good message to send when everybody else in the public that's not working for the government is struggling, and maybe we ought to all tighten our belts. And I would ask, as lesser magistrates, that you be very careful when grants are considered or money's offered to come into this community. If there are strings attached that take away any of your governing power, or that ask you to enforce or implement policies that are repugnant to the Constitution. I just ask that you always consider the Constitution in everything you do, because that is our saving grace, that's our power. And I really appreciate that if you always keep mindful of that. And
great, thank you.
you.
Back to the board.
I'll second the approval of the YCEA agreement update.
Individual. You'll make a motion. Your motion was for 217. The presentation was for all three, but the motion would follow each item.
Correct. Further comment on the comment made here is we have to realize these are union requirements throughout the state. We have no control over whether we bargain with the unit or not.
So your motion is?
No, my motion is to approve.
Item number 217?
217, yeah.
And that was my second.
Great.
Oh, let's get there.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. Thank you. Do I have a motion on
218,
item
yes.
218?
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
231, move to approve.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 254, Community Development and Services Award Contract Number 9500TAXI for the Economic Development Administration Award Number 0701074113.
Morning, Chair and members of the board.
Good morning.
I'm Jason Copping, Yuba County Airport Manager. We came before your board in March to receive your approval to go out for bid for a taxiway project with funding largely coming from the federal government through the Economic Development Agency. We were successful in obtaining 4 bids. The apparent low and responsive bidder would be All American Construction. And we are humbly coming before you this morning to simply ask that you approve that award and authorize the chair to execute that contract upon it being finalized with County Council for its review.
Questions from the board?
To the chair, Jason, you're going to come with a full report on the exciting things happening out at Yuba County Airport, which we've ignored for 13 years that I know of. And
absolutely, it's on its way.
All right, and I support you in your efforts getting the taxiway program. I think it's really going to help financially to our community.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Just for my information, what's the source of the airport fund money?
So currently the dollars are in the airport account. Some of those dollars were made available to the airport through discretionary general fund dollars through the county administrator's office.
So it's been building up?
They have.
Yeah.
So the initial award was made prior to my tenure as the airport manager. So I believe those dollars were allocated in 2019 and then recently with Rice Aviation having moved their operations to Texas and vacated California, who was the other co-sponsor of the taxiway project. We have subsequently been blessed with, again, discretionary dollars from the general fund through the county administrator's office.
Okay, thanks.
Questions, comments from the public? Back to the board.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ordinance and public hearings.
If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group.
Okay, item number 229-2022, Sheriff Coroner Ordinance. Hold public hearing, waive second reading, and adopt ordinance adding a new chapter 2.155, adopting a military equipment use policy to Title II. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, and to the board. Nathan Leibarger, Operations Lieutenant for Yuba County Sheriff's Office. So as presented in the initial plan with this proposed county ordinance, we're asking for the board to accept and approve the ordinance that has been drafted with County Council and the Sheriff's Office itself, along with our policy, to allow us to continue to provide public safety and services with the equipment we already possess that, due to Assembly Bill 481, has changed the wording to classify it as military equipment. So as discussed during the first reading, it's not adding additional equipment that we don't possess already and things that we are not deploying in the field today. But in order to remain in compliance, we will be delivering this to you and checks and balance system with you guys as an oversight with the Board of Supervisors. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, or you guys or the public.
Questions from the board? I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public?
Through the chair, we have one card for Donna Wahlberg.
First of all, I think I might have misread this. I thought the only thing before the board today was to set the public hearing regarding military use equipment. And I wanted to applaud our Sheriff's Department for doing that, because that sounds kind of intimidating to me. And with everything that's going on, in the world, I feel like, especially with the first thing on the agenda this morning, the Department of Health and Human Services are ramping up their efforts to get the vaccine out there, and there's a lot of us that don't want to be forced to take the vaccine. And so, you hear, they're ramping up when you hear COVID's gotten less. Now they're coming up with new diseases. I believe it's all a conspiracy for, I know I'm going to be labeled as a conspiracy theorist, okay, but I think it's all a big hoax to try to get control for the New World Order and all that stuff. So that concerns me, because they're using a lot of the same tactics that the Nazis used. And so when I hear that they're, even though the disease is getting better, there's no real mandates in effect in this county right now, serious mandates. They're still ramping up, and they're.
Do you have a comment on this issue?
Well, yeah. So it's just concerning to me. They're ramping up, and then they're using military equipment. You kind of answered my question with your statement today, but I just want to thank our Sheriff's Department for keeping the public informed, and I appreciate that you guys are very mindful of the Constitution, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Any other comments from the public? And I'll close the public hearing. Back to the board.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
We need to do roll call, I think.
We'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes. Thank you. That's good. Correspondence. I think we had 3 different items on here. I did want to point out one particular letter we received from Rochelle that is after 34 years with the County of Yuba. She will be retiring on July the 29th, 2022. The board to know that I rejected this letter, but she sent it back to me as a second time and didn't leave me much options. So that left us with the reality of Rochelle will be moving on to retirement somewhere in the world. So just pointing that out, and she will be missed, I can tell you. Moving to board comments. Andy.
I'll pass today.
Don.
I'm up.
You're up.
There's a series, apparently 3 meetings in each one of our 3 districts to address the possibility of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, which is a hot topic. Apparently there's some money becoming available, so we're getting public input. The first one is going to be this Wednesday at Cedar Lane School. And this is a unconfirmed rumor, but it looks like there's some progress on the Marysville Hotel. That's all I'm going to say.
Is it good or bad? Is it just a rumor?
It appears to be good.
Okay, good.
It's an absolutely unconfirmed rumor.
Very good. We love rumors. Seth.
Thursday is our meeting, and it'll be at the Olivehurst Youth Center at 5:30. So feel free to come by and give your support for curbs, gutters, and sidewalks in Olivehurst. As far as other activities, we're working closely with the building department. I was there this morning with our CAO and speaking with the permitting process so that we can open up some more businesses. We're looking for a grocery store, a pharmacy, and all sorts of other fun stuff. So very exciting about the things that we can do, coordinating with Health and Human Services, perhaps for some grants for senior services. So lots and lots of fun stuff happening in Olivehurst.
Very good. Any rumors that you can share?
I heard a rumor that everyone is excited about Yuba County and we are doing great things here. And in fact, it is positive and working together.
I think that rumor is true. All right, Gary.
I would echo Seth's rumor, and I would also agree that rumor is true. And then I would just add, it was a busy weekend with lots of great community events going on, far too many to attend all of them, I'm sure, but 2 that I was able to participate in, which were pretty amazing, was the 98th annual Wheatland Pet Parade. So that's been going on for a significant amount of time, and it's an amazing little event where anyone who has a pet is welcome to participate in the parade. And some years they can be quite exotic. This year, I think it was mostly dogs, but I did see 1 chicken in the parade. So that was amazing. In past years, I've seen a pig.
Was it your chicken?
Chickens? No. I just watched the parade and live streamed it. Yeah, I did not participate this year, but maybe in the future.
Was that a KFC chicken?
No, it was in a little cage, and two little kids had it in a little like battery operated, motorized little not really a quad, but kind of like maybe a razor or that kind of thing. And it was a tiny little thing. And anyway, there was a cage in the back with a chicken in it, and it was awesome. So, and then there were some great floats in the parade as well. And so I definitely would recommend it in the future. It's around this time of year. And there was the Marysville Roll and Stroll, which I think was hosted by the Yuba County Office of Education to help raise money for career technical education. And that was also an amazing event. So
very good. Thank you. Kevin, any rumors from your side of the table?
Rumors. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on in Yuba County right now. I can't share all of them. We're sworn to it's confidential at this time when we're working with these future employers in Yuba County. But lots going on behind the scenes there. And I also just wanted to just kind of thank the board for the support they just showed under the county departments with the raises. I know it's not from a public, facing point of view, the public may view that as, oh, well, why do the employees need to be paid more? Well, there's the employees are delivering services to the residents of Yuba County, and frankly, the employees, there's a lot of an investment that the county makes to get an employee to a point where they can provide those services. Sometimes it takes years of training to get that employee to the level that they need to be at to provide those services to the public. And if we don't stay competitive, as we're essentially a business, providing a service. And if we don't stay competitive with other businesses in the area, we will lose that employee to the other businesses, and they will take advantage of that training we just invested in that employee. So I really applaud the board for making sure as a business we're retaining that talent pool here so we can provide those services. And then also there was an item that was pulled off of consent. There was discussion. I received a quick text message from Jen Vasquez. She did some additional research and she wanted to provide the board just a little update.
Yeah, I wanted to apologize. I believe that I misspoke earlier and referenced that the CABI program received federal funding. It does not. It's 100% state funded. So I just wanted to clarify that and
great.
See if there was any other questions. So sorry.
Questions from the board? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. County Council.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
I'd love to hear those rumors, whatever they are. They are really interesting. So quick comments. Both Gary and I attended a NACO meeting this last week. What happens behind the scenes from the board level and particularly on the staff, I have to tell you that staff does a tremendous amount. We spend an hour and a half in an open session and things move along quickly that represent hundreds of hours where they put things together. So my thanks to all of them and all the work that goes into all of this information. It looks pretty simple in a written form and it all comes together quickly, but it represents a lot of work and detailed work over months in some cases or longer. So from Gary and I, part of the issue, what we try to do on behalf of the county and the public are meet with representatives from around the country to keep in touch with them, not only to learn and see what's happening throughout the other states in the United States, but to look for financial support, in some case beyond financial, emotional support and legislative support to get things done within California, within Yuba County. And if it helps Yuba County, in many cases, it helps additional counties around us. But for my district, it tends to work very closely with fire, water, biomass, safety issues, and it's pretty broad. So we spend a lot of hours talking and discussing, and Gary will back that up, that we sit through a lot of boring meetings, but it only takes one or two really good connections at those meetings that make a huge difference to this county. Just letting you know that there are meetings that go on throughout this board behind the scenes. You'll never know all the detail, and nor can I explain all of it, but that's what we're here for, is to try to get things done over an extended period of time. So, having said that, Mary, any additional? Okay, let's move on to closed session. We have two items, 187, conference with labor negotiations, and anticipated litigation.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.